Hello, everyone. It's a weird impromptu witchcraft live because the Fausty Witches is cancelled for this week for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why.
Poor planning.
Instead, we're talking about when spirits attack because they often do,
They
apparently.
got teeth.
So, if you were to believe the internet and our good Christian friends, spirits attack all the time.
Apparently so.
Especially from either the cupboard in your bedroom or underneath the bed you're sleeping in. Apparently, it's a very, very common thing that people worry about, spirits attacking you.
Okay.
Which I've never quite understood, Chris, because I'd always thought that they would get you when you're on the toilet. Because that's when your guard's down, isn't it?
That's how they got Elvis.
And your drawers. Yes, they did get. Did spirits get Elvis? I don't know.
Well, he died on the shitter, didn't he?
Is Elvis dead? Elvis isn't dead because I heard him on the radio.
Oh, don't. Really?
Right, okay. So serious discussion. Well, serious discussion. As serious as we can be. Spirits attacking. What are kind of the most common forms of spirits attack? What do they tend to do, and what type of spirits are normally the culprits? Is it a ghosty, a ghouly, dead people, or are actually they quite tame?
Well, I find normal human spirits to be fairly tame. I can't think of problems I've ever had with them myself.
Yeah, but you as a super witch, do you have problems with anything?
Well, no, not really. But that's not the point.
I thought that was exactly the point. You're saying, or I'm asking you, well, what spirits are the ones that normally go after, you know, that sort of thing. You're like, well, I don't have any problems with anyone.
I can't help it. Anyway, yes, I suppose, I don't know, with psychics that I know or have known in the past, their sorts of problems have been kind of psychic attack from spirits where they won't let them sleep or they wake up on the ceiling, those sorts of things, which I think is the stuff that scares most people. Like that's the thing, that's the thought process I think behind a lot of the fear is possession, isn't it?
I don't know. I thought that the scary parts normally come from the spirit dragging you off to like some sort of hell dimension or something like that. Because it's always about killing, isn't it? It's like, oh, the spirit will kill me, but if I die, I'll be dragged off then. Or just getting dragged off and carted off somewhere. I figured that that's where most people get kind of scared, because that's what you kind of see in films and that. You see a lot of possession, but if you're possessed, does it matter? I mean, you're not really aware, are you? That's like being assimilated by the Borg. Once the assimilation's over, you don't fucking know what's going on.
No, you're completely unaware. So,
yeah.
Yes, I get it. I get it. I understand that, but I do find that lots of people are scared of the idea of possession, which I don't really quite get myself. But
Well, they're worried about not being able to come back, aren't they?
Yeah, losing control, I guess, is most people's fear. But yeah, I don't quite get that. It depends on the level of spirit, I suppose. If we're talking about dead folk, it's rare for dead folk to really be able to possess a body. It requires a lot of energy and a lot of know-how that most spirits don't normally have access to. So most dead people haven't got a clue about possession. because it's not as simple as, you know, like the movie Ghost, where they just walk into her. You know, it requires a lot more energy than that in order to make that kind of transference.
Well, I mean, the fuckers can't even manifest here properly, so they ain't
Exactly.
got much of a hope, really, have they? Unless they're let in, unless you
Exactly.
literally open the
Open the
garage
door
door and the front door
and
and
pull
all
them
of the
through.
windows, and say, in a very loud voice, "We're going off on holiday. We won't be back for 3 weeks." I don't think anything's going to really come in, not dead people wise, because
No.
it's low level. It's low level. I mean, look at all the bloody paranormal shows, the way they antagonize them, and what they often get scratched, or maybe or
Yeah.
something thrown at them, or something
Something
like that. I
dropped
mean,
on the
come on,
floor. Bang.
yeah, or a little bit of illness or something. I mean, it's nothing compared to
And you
what
can
other
tell
things
me.
can do. So spiritual attack from low level entities, then. So, say you've got some black eyed children knock on your door, and no, not black eyed peas, because that's a band, black eyed children. They're trying to get you to agree upon terms of a contract, right? By saying, "Will you let me in? Will you let me in? Will you let me in?" Then that might be one of those things where you just slam the door in their face. That tends to work quite well. Um, if you've got some sort of a spirit infestation, Chris, low level stuff, dead people, that sort of thing. One of your rosemary smudge sticks, will they get rid of that?
More than likely.
Okay. So the average person could pretty much get rid of quite a lot of stuff then, really, without putting a huge amount of effort in, if they've got even the most minute amount of magical experience. Where is it that people get stuck then? So what sort of level of spirit are we talking when they kind of get stuck? Are we talking Fae? Because they often
Well,
come with a bad reputation. Are we talking a
most
demons?
most
What are we
people trip
talking?
upon a lot of those.
Also, I'd also like to know, which would you find scarier, Chris? The black eyed peas knocking on your front door, or the black eyed children knocking on your front door?
I quite like the black-eyed children. Black-eyed peas I don't like as much.
So the black eyed peas are a bit more scary then. They're proper corporeal form as well, so they might put their foot in the door before you close it, wedge it open.
Exactly. You know, tricky, tricky, tricky.
Oh, that could be interesting. So the idea of black-eyed children. If black-eyed children come knocking on my door and ask, my response is, "You paying rent?" Interesting. Would that be, how would that be taken though? Would that be, "Oh, she let us in, or he let us in, or they let us in," or would it be, "What is this rent you speak of? I do not understand."
What is the concept of this rent?
Yeah. Oh, and then we got a Katie Veronica who says, "A black-eyed children asking to come in. I thought that was just a folk tale." Wow. Oh, and we got another one. Are black-eyed children an actual thing? I hear about them all the time here in America on paranormal radio shows, and even reports of them in UK TV. And then someone else, what do the black-eyed children do? My God, we're gonna have to do a fucking Feisty Witches
Episode.
episode on black-eyed children, because it's all kicking off
Oh,
now.
yes. Let's add it to the Fausty list. I
Okay,
like
I'll add
that.
it to the
That's a
Feisty
good
list.
plan. Add it to the
Black-eyed
Fausty list.
children versus black-eyed peas.
Fergie
So,
can't handle those black-eyed children.
yeah, black-eyed children, are they a thing? Well, technically, yes, they are a thing. Are they a scary thing? Well, not really, no. So, easy to deal with. Are black-eyed children more easy to deal with? Granny that's died and she keeps coming back telling you how to live your life and annoying you? No. Granny is far more difficult to deal with, because, of course, you can banish Granny, but the rest of the family think that's rude when you're nasty to Granny. So,
Yeah.
easily done, but rude. You got to deal with the consequences of, people
Pissing
saying,
off the family.
yeah. Whereas the black-eyed children, no one really cares about them. Is there
No.
black-eyed
Awful.
parents? And where are they looking after these black-eyed children? I mean, letting them out loose? What is this?
Wow.
I think someone here's got the right idea. If they are children, you can just trip them up, push them down, then run away. Maybe we should do a witch wars that involves basically kidnapping black-eyed children. I'd be worried if they'd think we'd take that the wrong way and that we're actually condoning the kidnapping and torture of real children. No, we're talking spirit-like children.
Emphasis on like.
I mean, I'll let them come in, just don't touch my snacks. Ah, I'm a wolf after all. Well, I would imagine you probably eat the black-eyed children, so why not run the risk of letting them in? Because apparently if you let them in, they just disappear, and then what tends to happen is then a sickness manifests in your life, i.e. what actually happens is they get your permission to attach to you to then drain you of your energy, causing you sickness and the like. That's a form of spiritual attack, Chris. So should we talk a little bit about that? Or some sort of creepy stalker? So what's this? They make people feel really creeped out, like a stalker times 10. Wow, people say they radiate pure fear. That is true. It's because a lot of the time with the spirits, they radiate what they feed on. Like I knew a certain rather portly gentleman that smells of cake.
Wow.
You're right, this isn't the Feisty Witches, so I should be a bit more behaved, shouldn't I?
You should. I think we've gone into Fausty mode.
Okay, so spirit attack. I don't know. Has anyone got any questions in regards to spirit attack? And where are we talking then? Because you didn't answer the question, Chris, because we went off on a tangent about what level does it get to when people start struggling to get rid of the thing and to stop the attack?
Well, I find people struggle with the Fae. That goes without saying. But mainly because they don't understand what the Fae are and how to actually deal with the Fae. And let's face it, most Fae will often take the offer of somebody else as good enough collateral to go and deal with. Well, they don't care who they're fucking with, as long as they're fucking with somebody. So sometimes it's easy enough just to offer the Fae a new target, and the Fae will just move on. But because obviously, if you're not really being much of a sport, then they'll be bored. But yeah, the Fae goes without saying. I think most people struggle with kind of the next level up, I guess, from kind of dead people. So kind of that kind of angelic demons,
angel infestation,
demons infestation of that kind of level. Or the only other thing that I probably should mention before we go up there would be swarms. Those ones can be problematic, low level, but lots of them, which I don't think enough people think about. They think, oh, one big bad energy, and you're kind of like, is it one big bad energy, or is it lots of little bad energies?
That's the thing in it with swarms. They behave as one, and yet they're also individual. So, Faye, if a paranormal investigator says, Faye, go to the light, move on, go to the light, are they likely to get rid of the Fae, or are the Fae likely to set their fucker's house on fire and say, light,
fire,
barbecue, barbecued paranormal investigator?
Well, there's plenty on them, isn't there, normally?
Yeah, that's true. They breed like rabbits these days, and they've all got matching t-shirts. They wear a lot of black.
So, tasty. Or maybe not.
I don't think they look tasty, if I'm honest, but who knows? I mean, the Fae might find them tasty.
Well, yeah, they got different stomachs to us. Wait, we're off on tangents again. Yes, Faye not going to compute very well with the paranormal investigator. However, I don't think really in the sorts of places that they look would they accidentally stumble across the Fae. They don't tend. I don't find that the Fae, unless they've been locked there for a particular reason, are not normally
What, like
hanging
our
out.
Lady Poison?
Yeah, unless
If
somebody has
Lady
put
Poison's
them
locked
there.
them in a certain house, and you
Well,
go and do a paranormal investigation in said house because a previous owner mysteriously dies or something,
yes, yes.
that might be trouble.
Whereas I don't tend to find many Fae representatives in abandoned pubs, um, and old hospitals. They're not. They don't tend to be the places that they hang out. At least not in my experience. Um, you're more likely to go missing walking across a moor, um, because you happen to cross some kind of Fae space. So yeah, I'm kind of the feeling not necessarily going to be your average paranormal investigator's problem.
Hmm.
Although to be fair, I don't find that even the um, poltergeists are ever really found around the paranormal investigate. They must admit some kind of energy field that kind of, oh, I'm not bothering with that. I'm full. I'm full. Honest, I'm full.
Okay, so let's give away a couple of secrets then, trade secrets. So, Michelle says, can spiritual attack be more effective if it is subtle, and can other people be the source of spiritual attack? Yeah, obviously one person can attack another using a magic in that. Subtlety, it depends on what you're wanting to cause devastation wise. Some things, if you do something subtly, it can be worse. It depends. I think if we're just sticking to spirits, we'll just stick to spirits. A spirit will normally attack a person accidentally sometimes. I mean, it might just be something that's eaten and it might not understand what you are, but mainly it will attack you in the realm it lives in. So if you think about all of the various different realms and where all the spirits are, if you're a physical being and you have a soul and the like, there may be parts of you in that realm. So what it's going to do is it's going to attack the part of you that it has access to. Now, because all of these parts are connected, if you get gangrene in your arm, that spreads. So what will happen is that although the spirit you may be sick, sickness is an ideal one really, because that's what tends to how the manifestation often happens with this sort of work, is that it all filters around. So the arm gets gangrenous and sick and then goes nasty, and then that affects the rest of the body and all of that sort of thing. So it's kind of a knock-on effect that trickles down to the physical world. So you protecting yourself on the physical world ain't going to do fuck all with that. And also you protecting the space that you're in, so warding your house, not going to do nothing. So that's why when people such as the paranormal investigators try to clear spirits out or try to do stuff and they get attachments, and or people mess with the wrong thing and it attaches to them, follows them home, that sort of shit, they're not really doing that. What they are is they're just latching on to the bit that it can get to, which happens to be in the area or realm that it's in. So if you've got a spirit in the astral world, it's going to latch onto your astral body and start feeding and causing trouble for it, which will then manifest down further.
And
Now,
most of these
can
people
some
don't
spirits...
understand that.
Sorry?
I said most of these people won't be aware of their astral body,
Yeah.
and
So you
therefore
won't
they
feel
won't
that.
notice it
Yeah.
until it starts to manifest as illness, sickness.
Yeah. So it's the conditions that we would often see, in that if it started with a spirit attack, that might have been a while ago, and it might have been kept going and going and going, and then that has started to affect the astral body, which we could see and diagnose. But then often it will start to get worse and worse and worse. The astral body will start to putrefy, and then the physical body starts to get worse and putrefy, and then you die, basically, assuming there is some sort of poisonous thing, magically poisonous thing, problem like that. So if you want to do the same thing, obviously you would be capable of doing that. But spirits, they're spirits. They're going to attack you from a spiritual perspective. Does that mean that some spirits can't affect the physical world? No, they can. There have been occasions when certain spirits pick up a knife and hurl it across the room and it goes straight into someone. Possibility, but realistically, often not necessarily going to be the case. What you're really, I think, talking about, Chris, is intelligence, because the low-level spirits generally aren't particularly intelligent or are just really weak. So when you're dealing with something that's super intelligent, then it might not feed on you, or it might not do something like that. It might just fuck about with your life because it finds that amusing. So that's when you get other things that are going on, or if it orchestrates a car crash or something and you die, then that makes sense because there's an intelligence behind that. Really, what you're talking about by spiritual attack, the most common form of spiritual attack is a predatory attack. What do predators do? They eat. So the most common forms of predatory attack or spirit attack tend to be ones that latch on and absorb you. So they'll latch onto a part of you and eat you, gone, like that. Fair to say?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And like you said before, though, it's kind of like when sharks attack. It's not because they necessarily meant to eat you. It's a curiosity of you're in that space and they happen to go, oh, well, I'll take a bite out of that, see if it's tasty, what does it taste like? Whereas, it's rare that spirits actively seek you out unless you've actually done something to offend said spirit. Spirits don't normally just fuck about with humans for that point. They've got other shit to do.
If you wander into its habitat and it's a hunting ground, then it'll probably see you as food. So, and we're talking low level things, because we're talking things that work on a more of a basic, less intelligent, animalistic, I suppose. So spirit form. So we ain't talking really about deity level things. Deity level things are going to affect you probably in the way that the deity, because the deities normally are representations or personifications of certain energy currents, so they're going to affect you in that energy stream, in that energy current. Piss off a goddess associated with love, she fuck up your love life. Makes sense. It's her domain. So that's probably what's going to happen. So where are we going with this then? I think people experience a lot of psychic attack where the attacker is not aware they are doing it. But I also think that's probably some of the easiest to clean up. I'd agree. I think that's some of the easiest to clean up. That's normally psychic vampirism, what we kind of put that as. So if you're so weak that you have no defenses whatsoever, even a little bit of ill will by someone with a mild amount of psychic ability they're not even aware of can affect you. I think we call them pansies, Chris, don't we?
Evil eye.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Empaths, that's it. Empaths.
Yeah.
From what I have been taught about cursing, yes, that's why you must be careful not to be the target's immediate vicinity on a daily basis. I don't see why it would be any different during a spirit haunting. Interesting. Just remember that you physically being in a spirit's vicinity, unless it's an earthly kind of dwelling spirit, it's not really going to make much difference, because if it's an astral spirit, your astral body's in the astral world, and you move in from your living room to moving house over to the other side of the world, going to Australia or something, ain't gonna run away because your astral body's still in the astral world, so it's still get to you unless you defend yourself. Hashtag astral armor. Is it possible to predate spirits the same way they predate us? I have heard of certain witches being able to do this.
I'm not sure what that means.
Predate spirits? Can you elaborate on what you mean by predate spirits? Do you mean the conversations that you have, like you don't know if they're interested in you, you don't want to ask them out on a date because that's formal, so you kind of grab a little coffee, not calling it a date, even though if you grab coffee with someone and it's romantic, probably is a date.
Okay.
Predate, as in verb for predatory, feed off of them. So feeding off of them.
Okay.
So, is it possible to feed off of spirits the same way they feed off of us? Oh yeah,
No.
yeah, of course. So that would be classed as vampirism, essentially, isn't it? So, if you're eating the spirit and absorbing the energy of that spirit or another person, then yes, that would be something that you could do. Do you do that, Chris? Have you ever done that?
Feed
It's
off
generally
people.
frowned upon, isn't it?
It's rude.
Capitalism.
Mainly because it's rude to eat with your mouth full.
Right. I don't think that it's that. I don't think that it's frowned upon because it's rude to eat with your mouth full.
Speak when
I
your
don't
mouth
think
full.
anything in the astral world cares about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was distracted by the fact that clearly that's an American verb that I'm just not used to actually processing in that way. I would never use the word predate, even though
Strange.
it's arbitrary. But yeah, you Americans are weird. But thank you for clearing that up, Lauren. Like, yeah, thank you. To our rescue as usual.
I know. I spoke to an American and they said niche or something. I was like, what the fuck is a niche? And what they meant to say was niche.
Ah, Nietzsche.
Yeah. So where else are we going with this? So we've covered basically how a spirit might go about doing that. We've gone through very often, most of the time, it tends to be more of a predatory thing. What about offending a spirit? Because here's something that you do hear a lot of, and I think I heard of some people, some whisperings about this, with the Witch Wars free competition, which was conjuring up the demon and asking it for something. They were like, what if it doesn't like me? What if it picks on me? You know, what if it turns against me? That kind of thing. So you conjure up something or deal with a spirit, and then it turns on you, like adopting a dog that then goes rabid or something. What about that? Because that's an interesting concept. Because of course it's powerful enough for you to bother to contact it to do work for you. So it must be somewhat intelligent and powerful.
My answer to that normally is a case of saying, well, how would you normally approach somebody in the street? So, you know, you wouldn't normally walk up to someone, tap on their head and go, or you look interesting, please talk to me. Social convention says that's probably not a good idea. So, you know, I don't see why people struggle. I don't quite understand why people struggle with the understanding the protocol, if that makes
Some
sense.
people have Asperger's, Chris. That's why.
You know, no, I
It's
mean,
like
as in,
spiritual Asperger's. You don't realize the spiritual world's etiquette, and you cannot read the expression on the spirit's face because the spirit ain't got a face.
but
Chris.
this is where that horrible I word comes in, where it is actually about the intention. So, you know, because your energy signature will be read by the entity. They're not looking at you as a physical blob of human matter. What they're looking at you is as a spiritual body. So you approach it with the face, it's going to get that reading from it, because you've gone there with an intention of bullying it, or coming from that, that whole kind of ceremonial magician's way of approaching it from a point of strength, from a fear-inducing space.
You best do
That,
what I say, otherwise my big brother's gonna beat you up. And my big
yeah,
brother's bigger and stronger and older than you. And he's got a whole team of angels.
yeah, exactly. And they wonder why that approach doesn't always go down so well. It's one
Does it
because
ever go down well, really? I mean, some things will say, okay, all right, I better do what you say. I don't want to have to deal with that. But at the same time, a lot of them will be like, nah, I'm not even going to bother showing up. Hence why evocations often fail.
but yeah, you've got that kind of,
It's
there's
like
that part.
it's like when the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons come. Quick, turn the telly off, turn the sound down, close the curtains, and let's hide. We're not in. Like there's a Yahweh ceremonial magician are calling us up again. Everyone look busy. Everyone hide.
Yeah. But there's that part of going, well, actually, that approach could work if you actually did have a scary big brother. And I think
Mm.
that's where some of them mess about, where actually, if they were capable of, evoking the angels that they say they're invoking by writing them all over their astral self, property of
Yeah,
Asriel,
essentially.
is if they were actually capable of projecting that contract. So they actually spent the time getting these contracts with these angels before they go threatening, would be different. They'd probably get somewhere with it, because they're working within its own paradigm. What I struggle with is how they think, tattooing, property of Asriel and all these metaphorical dick wavings going
Yod
on.
He Vod He translates I'm Big Bubba's bitch, which
Yeah,
translates property of Yahweh.
yeah.
And
Of
guess
which
what?
case,
Much like Big Bubba in a prison, Yahweh may come and collect you because you are, after all, his property.
hmm.
So yeah, Alex says, what does Alex say? The ceremonial approach is basically the spiritual mafia approach. It works, but not for everyone. Basically comes down to whose gun is bigger.
Metaphorical dick waving.
Yes, and as we know, most ceremonial magicians.
I don't sometimes think it's a problem with size with some of the ceremonial magicians. It's just performance that is lacking.
uh,
Sorry, I couldn't resist. But yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to that when you're talking about offending. I think people forget the basics, which
hmm,
is unless you are very good at masking your intention on an astral level, that's how easy it is going to be to offend, is because you have, ill intent in mind. Um, because at that level, those spirits aren't looking at you with human eyes, and I think that's what people forget.
hmm,
Especially because I suppose in some ways it's lucky, because if some of these deities could see all the velour, um, or fake velvet that some of these people are wearing,
yeah,
um, they might actually be able to not take them, take them as much of a joke as we do. Um, what they're probably seeing is the fact that this person has no spiritual juice whatsoever. But I'm now just being rude about the W people again, which seems to be the theme of the evening. I was doing that on the podcast too. I can't help it. But yeah, I think it comes down to basics. It is, if you take it from a, which is a strange thing for us to say, I guess, but take it from the human approach and basically kind of go, okay, if I was having them round for tea, or I was meeting them in a bar, how would I want to present myself? Like that's the bit that matters. Is what facade am I putting out there when I'm approaching this said deity? Um, because it doesn't matter if your house is dirty and you're wearing your pajamas. Like that part is not going to matter because that is the human part. How are you are projecting yourself energetically speaking. Um, one pointer would be to say, always downplay your energy. And the reason we do that a lot is because never show your hand. You're not going to walk in um, dressed in a tank with Chinook helicopters above you, ready to go when you're just going to visit the local spirit. If you were to approach like that, why would that energy want to speak or deal with you? You approach at the level you should be expected to approach at, with this same level of respect. And I think that's the basic that's forgotten.
Yeah, I think there's no one size fits all approach, because you will offend spirits. You will offend them by not doing anything and not meaning to, because of the customs and the fact that it's different from you. The way it views you, it may not like you. Just the fact that you are you or a human, and what it sees, it doesn't like it. You might be a pest. Like when the fly comes when you're having your picnic and your sandwiches and it lands on it, you're like a fly to some big thing out there, paying it attention. Other things, you might be considered like a wasp, and they might get rid of you because they think, well, A, you haven't got a use, and B, you're dangerous. I don't want to be stung by you. Okay, you might not kill me, but it's going to be annoying and painful. So when you're exploring by communicating with, conjuring up, working with new spirits, you need to realize that you are going to fuck up because they are different. Reading and writing materials and listening to other people talk about stuff will get you so far. It's not really going to get you very far, to be honest with you. What spirit responds well to you might not respond well to me or someone else. One thing I suppose we should probably cover would be a big bad stuff. So we're talking deity level thing that thinks that you are that fly, because obviously humans here, kind of quite high up the food chain, think we're important. In reality, not so important in the grand scheme of things. So you being a magician or a witch and trying to conjure up and communicate with something that is vastly powerful, it might see you like that fly on that sandwich, and it might think the best thing to do with you is just to smite you out of the way. See, that's the problem. Would you smite out of the way a giant Jurassic Park prehistoric bug mosquito thing? No, you wouldn't. You would take that fucking seriously. So how big a fly are you?
Just want to quickly add, because I think we need to take that point a little further, but I just want to add a little caveat onto what you said about might not like you. Also remember, you are who you hang with. So if you happen to be, spending all your time with one particular deity and technically are worshipping or not worshipping that particular deity, and you have the kind of stamp of, property of, or affiliate of, or regularly works with and trusted friend of, those things can have an effect also. You know, if you've got a particular deity that is not in favor with a different pantheon, when you approach that pantheon, that's when you're going to start to have trouble. And that comes down to you are who you hang with. So, you know, those preconceptions, doesn't matter how powerful or useful you may be, if there's a wrong association there, that can cause you trouble also. So it is, you know, the best approach personally, and the approach that we take is that we don't favor one or another, generally speaking. We'll both have a few choice individuals that we spend a decent amount of time with, but we don't do devotion work, and we are, you know, what's the word, freelancers, and therefore self-employed, and therefore, you know, we can wander from bar to bar in different pantheons, and that is a very safe way to work. You know, minus the altar to myself that's in construction. You know, I don't hold any altars to any particular deity. You know, so therefore, you know, it does give you a certain hall pass to at least be seen by some of these people that might not actually deal with you otherwise.
Yeah. Like they say, you are what you eat. Well, you are what you hang around with. In Chris's case, he's the sum total of the 5 past lives he deals with the most. And if you're wanting a practical way of thinking about it, think about it as Tina smokes. She goes out for a cigarette on her lunch break, but you're friends with Tina and you often follow her out to have a chat on her lunch break. She smokes, you don't, but you stink of smoke because you're in her vicinity enough times for that to kind of, that stink to get in there, which other spirits will pick up that don't like a smoke.
It is that simple.
Yeah, it's kind of putting it overly simply, but that's basically, you know, food for thought. Why do spirits operate like human gangs? I thought they were supposed to be more evolved than that by virtue of being advanced spirituality. No, that is a big mistake. Just because something is a spirit doesn't mean it's evolved. It might be less evolved because it doesn't have a human body, or a body, sorry. So it's so shit that it cannot even manifest in this realm. Also, there are the sort that don't really want a human body. I mean, there are some big ones. Some would say the sun is a spirit. Pretty big body if the sun is a spirit. But anyway, let's ignore that. Evolving, intelligence, all of those things does not equal power. Okay? They do say that with great knowledge comes great power, and that, well, don't always work out.
Limitation.
Yeah, it doesn't always work out. If you've got something that's vastly, extremely powerful, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a particularly intelligent, nor does it mean that it's particularly evolved. Our idea of intelligence is greatly different. Also, look about this in the animal kingdom. Octopi, the octopus, is quite intelligent. Smart. Not exactly a shark, though.
I like that one.
But there we go. So hopefully that answers your question in terms of evolution, and evolution being not on the path of physical body and then this and then that and then that. Doesn't work like that. And then advanced spiritually would be the thing that I'd be a little worried about, because advanced spiritually, I'm going to presume that what you're implying is that the more I know about the system, the more powerful I will be. That may be true for humans and a human type of spirit. There are great black holes, let's say, out there in the spiritual realm, spirits with the power of black holes that are literally devour extremely powerful. They can even devour deities themselves. They ain't very intelligent. They're probably about as smart as a slug. Eat. No, no. That's all it does. It's just really powerful. Whales, they're really big creatures. Some would say they're powerful. Some would say they're not powerful. They eat tiny little planktons, you know? This whole kind of idea, we need to really be very careful of how we're kind of viewing this, because what you could mistake, which is what the New Agers tend to fuck up,
Pyramid scheme.
is, oh, something super powerful. It's going to be my friend because it's spiritually evolved. It's nice. Everything up there that's really powerful is, of course, nice, when nice is a human concept. And it doesn't really work out like that. You can now trust things to act within their nature.
It's just like fair and lawfulness, human concepts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
so
the
much
law, I
in
think,
elsewhere.
in other realms generally means what I can get away with actually doing. I.e., in here, we think what I can get away with actually doing as, well, if the coppers don't catch me, I got away with it. Over there, you're talking about laws of physics type. You're talking about what can I actually do? And if I can't do that, it's against the law of possibility.
That particular.
So, you know, and why is it against that? Why can I not do that? Is it because I physically don't have the capacity, or is it because technically I have the capacity, but something interferes and stops me? You know, which happens all the time when you get to that kind of level. Technically, there's no reason why we couldn't take a bunch of beginners that haven't really done a huge amount of magic or any sort of witchcraft, take them for a week, put them in depth in a magical boot camp, and then have them rewrite the laws of physics and fold this entire universe up in an envelope and burn it. There's no reason why you couldn't teach that to a bunch of students within a week, and they master the ability to do something like that. However, what they won't master is the fact that there are lots of other things out there that won't want them doing that. And as soon as they go to fold that paper up, universe, those other things are going to grab them and pull them away. So they might have the ability to do it, but other things is like a tug of war, I think, a lot of the time. And there are some people with a tug of war that use brute strength. Other people make sure the other team are in the mud, so they're slipping, sliding all over the place. And then the other people, they might pay someone with a gun to shoot the other team. And there are lots of other things that you could do also. You could say, okay, the game's over when it's not over, and then they let go, and then you went sly. There's power, and there's being a smart and sly. And you need to work on all of those things, because in a big, bad multiplicity of universes, all of those things, there's a time and a place for them. Yeah, basically there'll be skills that are useful to learn. So spirits attack, Chris. Rectification of dealing with a spirit when it's attacking you. If there's a low level spirit, beat it the fuck up. Or trap it in a bottle. Some people do. Most people beat it the fuck up. Wrestle it into a magical submission, or rip it apart, or tweak it on the nose. Yeah, apparently even a shark is quite a powerful and a scary in that. If you tweak it on the nose, it runs away or swims away. Probably don't run away. That's some next level Darwin shit if it does. Swims away, possibly. I don't know. I've never tried that. I heard that that's what you're supposed to do then. What about bigger things? Okay, so if it's parasite, how do parasites work in this physical world? Well, how do we treat things with parasites and that? You've got a parasite, maybe you'll get an antibiotic, kill it off, destabilize the habitat. If you are being fed on something that feeds on fear and it's making you scared to feed on that fear, stop producing the food. transmute that fear into laughter, comedy. I normally teach comedy, partly because the way in which spirits often manifest, they don't really get it. I've had scary things manifest as things that they think are scary, like a clown, but actually is a really rather shit clown, and it is quite amusing. So it latches on, not understanding what it's trying to look like, and looks like something that it thinks is scary. The Exorcist girl from The Exorcist is hilarious. Some people might think it's funny. I think it's funny. Some people might think it's scary. If a spirit isn't particularly smart and uses that guise or looks like that to scare people, they might think, I know what scares humans, this scares humans. And then they meet me and I'm like, right, okay, brilliant.
Do that again. Slower.
Yeah, do it again, do it again. No, don't run away, come back. Come and do it for a friend. Come and do it for a friend. Do that thing you just did. Do that thing you just did. Come on, do it again. So there we go. So that's basically transmuting what it's feeding on to make it, yes, much like a bogart in Harry Potter. Very similar, actually. That's a really good one. I'm going to have to use that as an example, but that is a very, very, very good idea. Transmutation of energy. If it runs on something, then you want to make sure that whatever it's feeding on does not contain that energy, and then it will. If you ran out of blood, the leech probably ain't going to keep feeding, Next level up then, Chris.
Before that, I also do suggest that sometimes, particularly with lower level things, overcharging the circuit, force a circuit break.
Oh yeah, okay. So if it feeds on something, then boost the energy output of it
until it can't cope and it explodes. I like those. Those are fun. Anyway, carry on.
This is all super low level magic as well. So this is the sort of thing we'd expect a New Age or a Wiccan to be able to do. Now, realistically, which is probably one of the reasons why things don't try and feed on me, unfortunately. I do so love it when they used to, though. When I was when I was a wee lad, I used to love it. When you'd get the bump things in the night that might have come to you, because they sense you got a bit of energy about you. And they try and get you. And then obviously the best thing to deal with a bully is to punch him in the face. What I tend to suggest to students is don't punch him in the face or blast him, like the archivist likes blasting things, doesn't she? I suggest wrestling them into submission, physically ripping them apart and examining what's inside. Autopsy, because you'll learn so much about spirits, spirit anatomy, how things work by actually physically ripping apart a spirit on the astral realm. Obviously, it'd be a good idea to do it to something that's attacking you, not your friendly neighborhood lunar spirit or something. And unfortunately, the bad thing is that you get a little bit of reputation for doing this after a while, and all the little black-eyed children that won't come anywhere near you. But it'll be good for a couple of goes. Then they'll cotton on to the fact that you're a predator. If I put the term predator and children in the same thing, will YouTube and Facebook put us on a register or something? Does that how the algorithm works? I don't know. We'll find out.
God knows.
So next up the list then, powerful spirit. So let's go for offending a spirit. Let's say, Chris, we offend the Furies.
Why would you bring that in?
I won't say that. Let's say Liam didn't say that, because we don't want to draw attention to that. I think we did cover that on a podcast episode at some point. So let's not do that. I was just being naughty. Let's say you offend something pretty minor, like, I don't know, what's a minor spirit? Something that's not really important.
An elemental of some description.
Elemental of some description.
You pissed off a storm.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Elemental spirit. Would you upset an elemental spirit, or is that too low down the food chain in terms of intelligence to really get offended?
Rude.
Well, I don't know. I can't say I've ever offended a wind elemental. I'm trying to think how that would work. The only thing I could think of is farting in a lift, but I mean, you're giving a gust of air, so technically that's making a wind baby. I don't know.
No, I'm thinking more pissing off a storm spirit by misappropriating its energy source.
Someone thinks that you're calling them out.
No, I would never be so rude to Julie. No, I was just talking about, upsetting local spirits that you might work at the next level from the dead, or you wanting to jump a
So
bit
the
higher.
highly dead.
So, I suppose, what's Jesus got to do with it?
So, say you pissed off some minor deity, the goddess Diana, for example. Say you pissed off the goddess Diana, and what sort of revenge would the goddess Diana take upon a person that offended her?
She might
We
steal all
need
your
some
moon
examples.
water.
Stealing your moon water, pissing in your moon water. Say the goddess Diana pissed in your moon water that you were charging, i.e., interfered with your spell work and kept doing it. She didn't just do it the once, she squatted down every time you made some moon water and she took a leak in it, right? So she kept doing it, and you're saying this is quite a funny spiritual attack, but it's a spiritual attack nonetheless. What can one do about such things? Because she's a goddess. How can a lowly witch stop a goddess from pissing in their moon water, Chris?
Was that a question? Okay. I was just checking if that was a question or if you were just, opening it out to the forum.
Just rambling, you mean?
Rambling, yeah. The okay, with those it comes down to appeasing. So
Oh, it tastes of piss, this moon water. I think I have personally offended the goddess Diana by mocking her. You can tell who's in the witchcraft live group, can't you, by the very fact that the first thing they go to is trap the bitch in a prison. Katie Veronica, if you trapped the goddess Diana in a prison, what would all those Pandianic Wiccans do with their time? I mean, sure, they could go and explore their vaginas with yarn and mirrors, but I mean, for the time that they normally do before that starts, the worship and the lighting of the incense and that, we cannot put Diana in a prison. And if we did, we would need to allow the Pandianic Wiccans visitation rights, wouldn't we, to see their goddess in the prison?
Wow.
What are they already doing with their time? They are already exploring their vaginas with yarn and hand mirrors. Trust me,
I think you really are trying to get us kicked off YouTube.
In Pandianic Wicca, it is a thing, right?
Wow.
And Katie Veronica says, make moon water. So you're going to make moon water for her to piss in. How is that going to stop her from doing that, Katie Veronica? Am I missing something? What you want to do is what you really want to do is you want to not make moon water. You want to make it look like it's moon water, but it's actually acid. So when she crouches down there, the backlash, because there's always backlash. If she squats down low enough, there'll be some trickle, like some spittle up, and it'll jump up and burn the goddess.
I don't think you're taking this seriously enough.
And that's how Wiccans were birthed.
This isn't Fausty.
No, it's not Fausty. This was supposed to be serious business, but someone does make a request. Can we have a Fausty Witches show on deity gossip? Oh, I don't know. I mean, we know where all the skeletons and all sorts are buried. I don't think I'd be comfortable saying that publicly because I'm bound to offend not just a spirit and god or goddess or whatever the fuck is, which means that we'd put our spirits attacking knowledge to the test then, but also I'd probably upset their followers and the like. And as we know from the whole Yahweh Jehovah thing, more scary to piss off the followers of Yahweh than actually Yahweh itself. So Katie says, no, that's what they'll do when she's in prison. I just got the Wiccan birds and bees talk, thanks. Okay. Do you know what? It's over an hour now, so we'd better draw the show to a close. Have we got any more knowledge to give out? Because
Well,
I'm like proper knowledged out. I don't know what the fuck we've been talking about, if I'm honest. All that's sticking in my head is really rather advanced nappy rash and
wow.
the goddess being quite upset.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
I think the idea of that would be to punish the goddess by doing some kind of ironic thing, but that normally kicks things up a notch. Now, what about getting the goddess Diana's? Because from what I hear nowadays, she's quite the feminist. Get her male chauvinistic ex-boyfriend to come along and then chain the two of them together. Now that's revenge. The old magical handcuffs.
I'd have just nicked her rabbit.
You pick a rabbit. Prank war with Diana. Yeah, prank war with Diana. So I don't know. I think we're out of time. So is there anything else
We
you
are
want to say, Chris?
we are out of time, but I don't feel like we covered that last bit very well.
Well, cover it then.
So it comes down to how do you deal with having pissed off deities? And you made that
So
into a joke. Which is fair enough, but I don't think that answers the question. This isn't Fausti. There are actual witches watching this.
okay, right. I get that. So what approach are you saying? Because it's going to depend on the deity, isn't it? Because generally speaking,
Yeah.
if you fuck something up, say for example, you get paid, you're a furniture removal person, right? And you're helping some person move house, and you drop their china cat, one of the china cats from a collection on the floor, and it breaks. You've upset that person. What do you do to rectify it? Well, you can make it up by saying, I'm ever so sorry, I'll buy you a new one, make offerings, all that bollocks. What is the approach that you take from a mundane perspective, and what is the approach you take from a magical perspective with a spirit to make up for it, as opposed to going to war, a prank war, or like Katie Veronica would do, to bottle the bitch up?
Sorry, I
Well, I
just
mean
feel like
that's witch, isn't it? I mean, you can't
I
get much more witchcraft life than bottling up deities.
just feel like we've created monsters. That's all I can think of right now.
I tell you what, the more patrons and the more mentoring I do, the more I get that feeling.
Just
This is
like,
basically a monster creation factory.
are we just handing magnifying glasses to children? Because I feel like that's what we're doing some days.
Yeah,
Maybe we need to cancel all this and we stop doing all this.
but
Maybe that's what needs to
that's
happen.
how people learn, isn't it? That's how people learn.
Anyway, my answer would be yes. You approach it in the same way that you would deal with that. It comes down to you understanding what their needs and wants are. So you appease them the same. How well you know the person / deity is going to be how you deal with it. If you don't know them particularly well, then obviously you're just going to throw shit at them or lock them in a bottle. you're going to find some way of option. If it's a deity you work with well, one, how did you manage to offend? And two, you should know exactly how to make that better. And all the time remembering that they're not human. So appealing to their emotions is not going to be how you fix the matter. It's going to be, how do you rectify some contract that you've just broken? Deal with it in the same way you would deal a business deal that's gone a bit awry, rather than, I just accidentally broke your favorite gnome. It needs to be dealt with. How do I actually settle this?
Is there a spirit that you can go to whose specific shtick is essentially to help you deal with offending other spirits? Because that'd be good. If not, we should probably make one.
We probably should make one. I think we could sell it in a bottle.
I have done one work in once for someone. It wasn't really a distance one, but it was for someone that's not very experienced, and they were having a problem with a trickster, mercurial type spirit. And I said, look, you've got to learn, if you're going to do this, going down this path, you've got to learn what to do. Okay. So I'm not going to fix this situation for you. What I will do is I'll give you the space in order to stop getting attacked. So what I said was, you coming down my friend Hestia's house, and you can have milk and cookies in front of the fireplace, get your shit together, think up a game plan, because the spirit won't get you there, because nice calm environment, you see, mercurial spirit not liking it there. Plus there was a goddess kind of keeping the hearth going. And that worked a wonder, because they were calm enough to be able to start thinking through logically, but obviously being attacked constantly by said mercurial spirit, they were getting their head a bit mind fucked and just couldn't cope. So having that kind of calm relax. So yeah, I think that's probably it for today, because we are out of time. I think the last thing we have is, you're all right. I came in near the end. Don't work with deities, and I've got a fucking clue what's going on. My own fault, not yours. I did love watching you both, though. Oh, that's very sweet, Facebook user Anonymous. Hearts go out to you.
It's
there we go.
Raquel. It's Raquel from Witchcraft Live.
And Alex says, maybe spiritual gift boxes. I suppose you could. Maybe we're missing a trick. Maybe we should do some spiritual gift boxes that you buy to give to spirits, because the whole Christmas thing's obviously a big industry, but also another big industry is humans upsetting random spirits and shit. So what about appeasement gifts? Or even better,
what do they look like?
You could do some cards.
Could we send them via email?
Spirit apology cards. You can do some art cards, Chris. We'll sell them for a tenner each.
Okay.
And all they do is they write out the card and they burn it. Perfect. Okay. Surely that'll fix everyone's problems. I can imagine Aries being really, really, really happy about receiving one of those if you've pissed him off.
Hey,
I mean, Aries, you did send it via fire, and I'm sure he would like that.
Hey, Aries loves my work. Don't be dissing my work.
Right, so we will say goodbye. Goodbye for now.